7 years of teaching, this is what I've got. Student engagement is paramount. I know, it's a major breakthrough. Begs the question, how do we engage students? Let's start off by thinking about what originally engaged our ancestors in mathematics. The answer is pretty simple. Solve problems that aren't intuitively solvable. Math was simply a set of cognitive tools created to solve problems. So what kinds of problems can engage our students? Let me start with a problem that doesn't engage our students, but as teachers, we highly value. The most terrible part about problems like this is that it sends the message to our students that yes, math actually is this boring. Math can suck the fun out of anything, even smartphones. Somewhere along the way, we gave up on the tenet that all students should be doing authentic, challenging math. 20 years ago, research found out that in classes that emphasized practicing math skills, students were simply engaged using surface-level information processing and retention strategies, not the higher-order thinking that we should be expecting from our students. The crazy part is that many of us have utterly unrealistic expectations of our students. We don't expect them to do rigorous math, but do expect them to sit there and work endlessly on mind-numbing material. Then we get unreasonably upset with them when they don't. I originally thought the problem was these kids weren't students in any sense of the word. Never prepared, no homework. So I bought them all 3-ring binders and made sure they wrote their assignments in their agenda every day. I hoped that if I promoted student ownership and treated them like students, they'd act like the students I wanted them to be. Some schools try uniforms for similar reasons. The problem is that there was nothing I could do to get them to act like students if they didn't self-identify as students. And until we can get them to identify as students, all these other programs and interventions aren't going to be effective. So, how do we get them to identify as students? And more importantly, as young mathematicians? Well, when does someone start identifying themselves as a basketball player? Is it when they buy a ball or put on a jersey? Maybe for some, but I think for most they need to actually do something athletic in a basketball game to self-identify as a basketball player, even if it's just a pickup game. Kids will feel like mathematicians if they, on their own, contribute to solving authentic math problems. Dan Meyer calls this positive mathematical view of oneself mathematical agency. And promoting mathematical agency is the fight we need to be having in our classrooms every single day. Why are the stakes so high? Because if students perceive themselves to not be good at math, a view held by many of our students, then our class is going to make them feel either apathetic or anxious. We need to bridge that gap if we're going to reach our non-students. We need to work on improving kids' self-image as mathematicians, and the only way we're going to do that is by having them engage with authentic mathematical tasks. But non-students don't care about math, so how do we get them to initially engage? Use tasks with multiple levels of entry, especially low levels. Take this activity introduced in chi-square. It involves a dunk tank that's supposed to dunk half the time. Students are asked, what if the principal's dunked 3 out of 4 times, 15 out of 20? At what point would you feel the dunk tank was unfair? The kids get engaged. The opinions of the highest achievers are no more valued than those of the lowest. Students are able to stake a mathematical claim, and just as importantly, they see a need for a mathematical tool to measure weirdness. So when they're introduced to the math behind chi-square, they see the value in it. Here's another example with multiple levels of entry that can engage all learners. The students create their own line of best fit and interpret its power and its limitations. And once again, you don't need amazing mathematical skills to engage in these conversations. And typically low-achieving students can add valuable insight here. Their argument for whose line is best adds real value to the conversation, and they know it. So they begin to gain mathematical confidence and increase their mathematical agency. And that confidence, that mathematical agency, is what's going to transform these kids from non-students to engaged learners. It's not going to be wearing a uniform, and it's not going to be using a TI Inspire. This is another example of a low level of entry. Guess the Statue of Liberty's arm length given her nose length. Have students make 3 guesses originally. An answer they know is too high, one they know is too low, and their actual guess. Record those actual guesses and bring them up at the end of the activity to see who was closest. Have kids engage with the problems before introducing various proportion algorithms. Let students struggle and think and create their own ways of knowing, and don't over-scaffold. The students are keenly aware when it was their thinking that got them to the answer and when it was your thinking that got them there. Again, it's only when they actually do authentic math on their own that they will begin self-identifying as young mathematicians. Rich problems help, but make sure the students are doing the cognitive lifting. A special personal thank you to the IMP development team and Dan Meyer for changing the way I view math education. Thank you.